Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Honorable Mrs. Dian Ekawati MPD, Honorable all of our friends in our class. Okay, in this happy occasion, we are from Group 4. We would like to deliver our presentation. And today's topic is about principles of language assessment, practicality and reliability. And here we are members of Group 4. The first is Misbah Febriansyah, the second is Muhammad Bagja Ramadhan, and the last Nissa Lailatul. And let's go to the topic. The first is practicality will be delivered by me. Practicality refers to the ease of design and use for both teacher and learners, Brown 2004. It means that the design used in testing is simple and easy for both teacher and learners or participant and supervisor. Next. An effective test is practical. There are 4 characteristics in practicality of the test. The first is not excessively expensive, means that the test should be economical to provide. It should be affordable for students or participants of the test. For example, a test which is prepared in a PowerPoint display for a whole class can be cheaper compared with the use of paper for the test that students have paid for the paper. So the use of PowerPoint is practical. So the second, stays within appropriate time constraints. It means that the test doesn't have to take a long time because it will cause a loss of concentration. And the loss of concentration of the participant will lead to an unreliable result of the test. For example, 5 hours test for junior high school will be too long test. The student may get tired in the first 2 hours and hard to get concentration to continue the test. So the third, relatively easy to administer. Make the test administration as simple as possible. It can be by providing facility needed, such the listening comprehension test, which placed in the language laboratorium itself with several facilities needed is better than use another place to do the test. So the last has a scoring or evaluation procedure that is specific and time efficient. It means that the should have be relevant with the participant. For example, if the participant is more than 100 students, but the supervisor is only 10%, multiple choice in the test will be more practical. So the teacher may get the score faster than use an SI method, for example, in the test. So the faster you get a score, it is more practical test use. Next. What makes the test impractical? So the opposite of practical is impractical. Then if the test was prohibitively expensive or the test takes student 10 hours to complete or the test takes long time for an examiner to evaluate until the examiner hard to get the score or need long time to get a score, then it means that the test is impractical. So to sum up, the more practical test is the simpler, the easier, the quicker, and the cheaper the test it is. Okay, maybe enough from me. So for the next material will be delivered by Muhammad Bagja.
Okay, okay, thank you, Nissa. Now is about reliability. Okay, the assessment principle, if you are talking about assessment principle, means that the test or assessment instrument we use to measure student learning outcome must be good in order for the expected result to be obtained in accordance with the existing target. In order to create a good test or instrument, numerous criteria or principle must be met, one of which is reliability. So what exactly is reliability? Reliability Reliability is the level of consistency of the test. So the keyword of reliability is the consistency of a test or instrument that we use to assess our student, which must be consistent. The meaning is consistent here, namely the extent to which tests can be trusted to produce a score that is stable or relatively unchanged, even though it tests on student in different situations. So the test is whenever or whatever, or anyone who takes or use the test kit, the result will be the same. In order to understand more about this reliability, let me give an example like this. For example, when I want to measure a lake, I measure it using a rubber. Can we can we call this rubber a measuring instrument, which is an instrument for measuring a lake? The answer is yes, because we can use this rubber to uh, measure the light of an object maybe. However, when there is a question whether this rubber is reliable or consistent with light measure, the answer is no. Why? It is because of the nature of the rubber is flexible, not fixed. So that when used to measure light by the student, it can be different. There are those who measure the light with this rubber. They get 5 centimeters long. It can change to other student. It could turn into 7 centimeters or 10 centimeters. Because why? It because of the nature of the measuring instrument or this assessment instrument, namely the rubber is flexible or inconsistent. We can use this measure to give an instrument, okay, I'm sorry. We can use this measure to give an assessment, or you can think about it. You can think about it in terms of consistency of score. If you if you test a student today and test a student tomorrow, our score is gonna be similar, right? If you test one population of student and a different population of student, are you going to be seen similar scores or the same assessment? And down to internal reliability, if you are administering the first part of the assessment to the student and the second part of the assessment or the scores on the first part in the second part can be similar, or student performing on all of the item within any given assessment consistency. The next is reliability coefficient. The reliability coefficient is represented by term rho xx, the correlation of the test with itself. Reliability coefficient are variance estimates, meaning that the coefficient denotes the amount of true score variance. This is unlike a standard correlation coefficient where usually the coefficient needs to be squared in order to obtain a variance. Cohen and Swarlik, 2005. So I'm sorry, to estimate the score reliability at a minimum, one needs less to observation score on the same set of individuals. The correlation between the set of observations provide a reliability coefficient. From the simple requirement, a wide variety of reliability studies could be designed, such as the test, retest reliability, or the internal consistency. Consistency. And the last is, okay, It turned out surprisingly the most common method of attaining the necessary to set off a score involves only one administration of one test. Such method provides us with a coefficient of internal consistency. The most basic of this is the split half method. In this, the subject take the test is usual way, but each subject is given to scores. Um, one score is for one half of the test. The second score is for the other half. The two set of score are then used to obtain the reliability coefficient as if the whole test had been taken twice. In order for this method to work, it is necessary for the test to be split into two halves which are really equivalent through the careful matching of items. It can be seen that this method is rather like the alternate form method, except that the two forms are only half delayed. It can be demonstrated empirically that this altogether more economical method will indeed give good estimate or alternate form coefficient, provided the alternate form are closely equivalent to each other. Okay, that's all for me. The next material will be continued by Misbah Febriansyah. So Misbah, time is yours.
Okay, thank you, Bagja. So the next one will be, okay, next slide. Next slide. Next. Yeah, okay. Score reliability. It is most unlikely that every candidate would get precisely the same score on both of two possible administrations of the test. We assume, however, that scoring of the test will be perfect. If a particular candidate did perform in exactly the same way on the two occasions, and this would be the same score as would be given by any other scorer on either occasion. Next. Next slide. It is possible to quantify level of agreement given by the same or different scores on different occasions by means of the score reliability coefficient, which can be interpreted in a similar way as the test reliability coefficient. In multiple choice case, the score reliability is 1. When scoring requires no judgment and could be in principle or in practice be carried out by computer, the test is said to be objective. Only carelessness should cause the score reliability coefficients of objective tests to fall below 1. However, we did not make the assumption of perfectly consistent scoring in case of the interview scores. We accept scorers should be able to consistent when there's only one easily recognized correct response. But when a degree of judgment is called for on the part of the scores, as in the scoring of performance in an interview, perfect consistency isn't to be expected. Next slide. Okay, so how to make tests more reliable? First is take in samples of behavior. Other things being equal, the more items that you have on the test, the more reliable that test will be. It's been demonstrated empirically that the addition of further items will make a test more reliable. Next, exclude items which do not discriminate well between weaker and stronger students. Items on which strong students and weak students perform with similar degrees of success contribute little to the reliability of a test. Do not allow candidates too much freedom. In some kinds of language tests, there is a tendency to offer candidates a choice of questions and then to allow them a great deal of freedom in the way that they answer the ones that they have chosen. For unambiguous items, it is essential candidates should be presented with items an acceptable answer which the test writer has not anticipated. Provide clear and explicit instructions. It applies both to written and oral instruction. If it's possible for candidates to misinterpret what they are asked to do, then on some occasions, some of them certainly will. And next, ensure that tests are well laid out and perfectly legible. Too often, institutional tests are badly typed or handwritten, have too much text in too small space, and are poorly reproduced. Next, make candidates familiar with format and testing techniques. If any aspect of the test is unfamiliar to candidates, they are likely to perform less well than they would do otherwise. Next, provide uniform and non-distracting conditions of administration. Use items that permit scoring which is as objective as possible. Make comparisons between candidates as direct as possible. This one is, this reinforces the suggestion already made that they should be limited in the way they are allowed to respond. Next is provide detailed scoring key and train scorers, especially important when scoring is more subjective. And the next slide. Okay, I think that's enough from me. Thank you for thank you for your time, and I'll return to the moderator.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Bahan Bagja. And that's all we can deliver. Thanks for your kind attention. And the last, we say you, wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thanks everyone.